Hi, welcome to my channel. I wanted to do a quick video on why I don't think there's any bad cards within the Lenormand system. I think that each card has so much to tell you, and it just depends on the nuance of the question, the context, and the surrounding cards that are in combination with the cards that you pull. I've just pulled out some of the most popular quote unquote bad or negative cards that some people feel are bad or negative. And I have the snake card, the coffin, mountain, the scythe. This is usually the whip, but in this deck it's called the birch rod. And then we have the clouds and the mice card here below. And I just want to go really quickly through just some of the various meanings for these cards and why when you pull these cards, you don't need to be scared or think they're negative or try to pull, different cards or do like a second reading. While you can just take these cards at face value, embrace them, and how you can learn so much from them. And they can make you a better Lenormand reader because it helps you become more disciplined when you're reading, not just by staying true to what the cards mean, but by staying true to the original way and structure of reading the cards. So, two cards that may seem bad when they're put together, or even when they're paired with a quote unquote positive card, they may still yield a really pleasant reading. It just depends on the order of the cards and the context of the question. So, for an example, here's the snake card. It looks pretty, scary, but in reality, to me, this snake card can mean so many things. Yes, it can mean, a backstabber or betrayal, but, some readers also look at the snake as a symbol of wisdom, somebody who's very ambitious, a woman who's very ambitious or strategic. Some readers also look at this as like a sexual card, depending on the context of the other cards that are drawn with it. I've had this come out when I had plumbing issues in my house. So this card can mean a variety of different things. And also, even if you were to pull this card out with, say, like the Rider card, and you had the inclination that, some type of, betrayal was coming your way, I still wouldn't look at that as a bad thing because you finding that out by doing the card reading, to me, it's still positive because now you know what to expect. Now you can prepare, so at the end of the day, it still is what it is. It's not necessarily bad. I think once we shift our perspective and have just a greater understanding of the cards and don't look at them in such black and white ways, we can really develop a more rich understanding of the cards and the wisdom that they can give us. And we can also take that perspective to life. That everything won't be pleasant in life, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily all bad. Sometimes it's just neutral. Sometimes it's just what's happening in our lives, right? I have the coffin here. Sometimes people view this as something that's ending, something that's being like buried. But once again, this is also depending on the context. What if you had this card, paired with the mountain card, and you had like the mountain card here and then the coffin card here? It could symbolize the idea of, your block or your delays ending. So just because you would see those two cards together, it wouldn't necessarily mean a bad thing because this could be the first card, the now, some type of block or obstacle or delay. And then if the coffin card was the second card here, then that would modify this card and it could be like an ending challenge or an ending delay or block in your life. So once again, it just depends on the order of the cards, and also it just depends on the context of the question. So don't ever look at the cards and just figure out this is going to be a positive reading because I see two positive cards, or this is going to be a negative reading because I see two negative cards. Just look at the cards for what they are, and you can really get some really funny or interesting readings. And even if the news isn't the most pleasant thing you want to hear, once again, at least you get to know that it's information. You still get to benefit from having it. So I think it's just a good way to look at the cards and at life. Um, Once again, let's go to the Scythe card. Sometimes this is about people sometimes look at this as something that's like abruptly ending, or something that's getting like cut away. It could be like an adjective for people who are abrasive, ruthless. Also, as a tool, some people may see this as like somebody who works with tools, such as like a surgeon, a mechanic, something of that nature. Once again, if you get this card with, say the mountain card, maybe this could mean that whatever obstacle you're facing is going to be quickly like cut away and removed. So just because you've seen these two cards together when you pulled them, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be a bad reading. Just focus on what the cards say and just read them to the best of your ability, knowing what you know about the different card meanings and the standard way of reading Lenormand, and you may still get a very positive reading. Let's move on to the birch rod card. Like I said, this is usually called the whip card. The whip card people use for a variety of different reasons. Some people use it for sex. I don't. I typically look at the lily card for any type of sexual interpretations, and sometimes the snake, depending on the context of the cards. Some people use this for any type of like physicality, training, manual labor, and also some people look at it as like verbal discussions and conflicts. Um, Also, I've had this card come out when I was in like a legal situation and I was hearing back from my lawyer. So once again, depending on, the context of the cards that you pull with this, that's going to determine if it's inherently bad or good. But it just depends on that context. But if you pull it, don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. And lastly, the clouds can mean a variety of things. It can mean ambiguity, uncertainty, a lack of clarity. Sometimes people use this as just thinking like, "Wow, there's going to be some problems coming." Um, and then like the mice card can mean feeling very anxious or worried. It also can mean the deterioration, theft, something being like stolen or gradually like gnawed at are slowly, falling away at. And so, for an example, if you got these two cards together, they could be read a variety of different ways. Some people could pull these two cards and they may think, oh, wow, these are two quote unquote bad cards. But say you got these two cards. Let's just go through a few examples of what these two cards could mean if you drew them together. So some people can say if the mice card can mean being anxious or are worried, and this already means like a challenge, a problem, or some type of confusion. I mean, this could give the overall impression of being like very stressed out or worried about that problem or confusion, and just having like some mental health, issues or concerns. Some people also could say, though, if the mouse card or the mice card in this particular deck signifies like theft or like a decrease, a decline, or deterioration, and this was modifying this idea of problems or challenges. Some people also could read these two cards as a decrease in challenges or ambiguity. And as a result, look at these two cards together as more clarity about something because the confusion and the ambiguity that this person was feeling is now being modified by the mice card, which is symbolized sometimes as a decrease or decline of something. So some people could read both of these cards and still get a positive answer, and that meaning that it could be just a lack of confusion, which could then mean that the person was getting more clarity. So these are just, a few examples about how we have to just, when reading Lenormand, I think is best, once again, if you just look at the cards for what they are without assigning any type of label to it as good, bad, or instead, I think it's good to look at them as neutral. All of the cards as neutral, because in this particular system, the cards are constantly being modified by other cards. It's depending on the actual context and nuance of the question and the actual skill set of the reader. So there's a variety of different factors that come into play when trying to discern the overall meaning. And so don't ever think just because you see quote unquote bad or negative cards that the overall reading is going to be bad or negative. Sometimes we need things to be cut away. Sometimes we need certain things in our life to decline. Some things need to end. And if we do have backstabbers in our life, we need to know about them. And sometimes there's going to be conflict, but that's not always a bad thing. And sometimes we may want things that are going to be delayed. I once was waiting to hear back from a guy once that I was like really interested in hearing back from, who I was interested in dating. And I once did a quick reading asking whether or not I was going to hear back from him. And I had pulled the bird card, which is a symbol for like verbal communication. And then I had the mountain card modifying it. So it was just blocked communication. And I never heard back from that guy. But instead of me looking at this and this mountain card as a bad thing, it really allowed me to move on. It allowed me to not expect communication anymore. And even if it wasn't the most pleasant thing to hear, it was the necessary thing to hear. It was a reflection of my real life. And so I think that this system is really great for embracing all the different facets of life and situations that we all face. So that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you think and have a good day.